Well, good morning, everybody. The clock's just ticked over to 9:30, our official start time. So I'll make a start. I hope you can hear and see me okay. If you want to give me a quick thumbs up or smiley face in the chat section, that'd be welcome. It's always reassuring to know that I'm not talking to myself. So welcome to today's session, which is the introduction to Teams. My name is Alistair Rain, and in a moment I'm going to be handing over to my colleagues Stuart Parkin and Russell Moss, who will be running the on-screen demonstrations. We all work for the college's learning technology team, which is part of the quality team. I'll just point out while we've got it up on the slide there, we do have our own internal website. The link is there just on the right hand side of the screen, and that's got our full contact details on if you need to get in touch with us. It's also got lots of videos and printable help guides for teams and other ILT things. Just a few things about today's session before we get started. If you could mute microphones, please, because this helps to prevent echo and feedback, unless, of course, you're asking a question. And if you could turn off video as well, that would be welcome. I don't know if you've experienced it, but if we're not sharing something on the screen and you're the only person to have video on, you appear in full screen for everyone to see. So it just makes for uncomfortable viewing sometimes. As we're going along, you're welcome to ask questions in the chat, which is over on the right hand side. If you've not used it before, there's a little icon circled on the screen that shows how to switch that on. And yeah, I'll keep an eye on the chat box as the session's going on, and I'll try and answer questions there, but also refer to Stuart if there's something that can be better demonstrated. Also in that chat section, I'll add any relevant links or resources that might come up in the conversation. There will be pauses in the demonstration to ask questions, and at that point, if you could use the raise hand icon, which again is being indicated on the slide, that'll just help to keep things organised, because we are expecting over 100 people in the sessions today. A recording is being made, and we'll send that out to everybody at the end. So if you do want to recap things or watch again, there'll be a chance to do that. So Stu, if you can just move on to slide 2, I think we'll have a look at the plan for this session. I won't read everything word for word, but just a quick summary. Today's going to be about what you need to do to get your students onto Teams, setting up groups and classes, know the protocols for online communication. We're going to be looking at assignments and how you can assess your students, and I can't actually see the bottom one. I'll let you read the bottom one yourself because I've got it covered over at the moment, sorry. Okay, so I think without further ado, I'll hand over to my colleague Stuart, and we'll make a start. Thanks.
Excellent, thanks Alistair. Yeah, just to reiterate there what Alistair was saying about the session is being recorded. We're going to record all the sessions today and on Friday, so and all the links to those will be sent out, but that also means obviously if you do turn your mic on and speak, and in here you are being recorded within the session, just to make you aware of that. And I will also just like to reiterate, there is obviously going to be a lot of information for you to take in today, especially if you're in all 4 sessions with us. Please do use those recordings, but also just to reaffirm what Alistair said there, we are there as a support team for this. It's new to all of us, including us. It was new to us when it got turned on, but we're here as a team, the learning technology team, to support you. So please get in touch for follow-up sessions, one-to-one, things like that. We'll also be creating more how-to guides, more videos that you can be watching over the summer and onwards as well. But yeah, please do get in touch for any further support. Don't feel that today is your one shot, a lot of training, and you're off on your own after that. say there's a lot to take in. And without further ado, we'll get started on that. I just want to firstly go to this next this next slide here, just to give you a bit of context about what Teams is. As a organisation, as the LTE group, we have a full license for Office 365, and that gives you access to all those Office apps, all those Microsoft apps that you've used before, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. But there's some new ones there as well. Teams being one of them. It's quite a recent addition. And using your college email address and password, if you go to office.com or go through the hub, there's a link to the Office portal. You can access all of these apps, and there's online versions of these, so you can use most features that you would normally use in things like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint by using them through the internet without having them actually installed on your computer. But you can also download the apps as well. You can download Word onto, say, your personal devices. Up to 5 devices you can install using your college credentials. So if you've not got Word on your personal laptop, you can do that using this site. That goes for students as well, so they could have all these on their own devices as well. So if you're getting assignments done in some strange file format, quite often get those with those free versions of word processors, things like that, they can have free access to Word, etc., using their student credentials. And just to reiterate that, if Alistair, if you could pop the guide in the chat to this, the PDF guide, you can share with your students the different ways that they can access Teams. But this is, say, for any of those Office apps, they can sign in with their student, their college email address and password, and get access to everything that you put on Teams. There are different versions again of Teams. There's they can use it completely over a web browser. I would recommend installing the Teams app though, because there are features that appear that we'll cover today that don't appear if you're just using it through an internet browser. I think things like raising your hand, for instance, and some of the other newer features in particular aren't on there. You've got the basics. There's also a mobile app, as mentioned, that's for Android and for iOS, for Apple devices, that can be downloaded by yourself and students. A real pro of doing that is you get the notifications through for anything like for chats, or any times you've been mentioned in posts and things like that. You get those notifications through like you would do if you were on Facebook and things like that. So it's quite it's a better way of keeping that communication through Teams if you've got the actual app installed. I'll just go on to looking around the Teams environment now. There is quite it's quite a lot in here again, but I'll try and do it in stages, and we'll take questions after each part, and just try and make sure as many people are on board as possible. First of all, I'm just going to realize I've got a different theme on here at the moment. So I've got this dark theme. I'm just going to make mine look the same as yours. So if I go up to my my picture in the top right hand corner, I'm just going to first of all share my screen with you. Back to my Teams. So within the Teams environment, hopefully you can see that now. If I click on my picture in the top right hand corner, I get a link to my settings. What I want to do is just move that back to the default theme. Unless I should get rid of that dark theme that was there. So hopefully that looks a bit more like what you have. I'm going to go through this left-hand column first of all. This is my general navigation around Teams. So my first box there is activity, and that will show me anything that's happened for me. Really, within Teams, will be a stream of activity for me, so I can see where I've had a few missed calls off Russell there. I did ring him back, I promise. But I've also got notifications, like I say, if you have the app installed, you'd get a notification for each of these things. So when I've been mentioned in certain teams areas, when I've been added to a team by Jill there, that's I've got a notification for that. So that's my feed of what's going on. Underneath that, I've got chat. So you can see I've got the chat there for this meeting. So we can that's update as we're going through. I'm getting all the updates of what's going on in this meeting. So that's in my chat section as well. But I've also got previous chats that I've been in as well, whether that's with individuals or whether that's from previous meetings. So you can see from the icons where they're from. So if I want to go back to access either the conversation from a meeting, or if you've recorded the meeting, that will be contained in these chats as well. We'll go more into that in later sessions about accessing recordings, but that's good to know. That chat is where I can go back into previous meetings and conversations. You can also see there I've got some pinned conversations at the top. So if I want to have easy access, because you can see there can get quite a scroll of different conversations. If I want this conversation between me, Alistair and Russell to go to the top, I can go through and pin it up to the top. Another quite useful thing that you can do through those 3 dots there next to a chat is you can use that mute button. We'll get a few people saying when they've been in our meetings and the conversation sometimes does carry on afterwards and you get in the notifications of people chatting, you can go back in and just mute it for yourself. So if I go and mute that meeting from yesterday, you can see it's turned grey and I'm not going to get those updates as anybody else posts in there. I can go back in and unmute that as well. So we've got a nice way of organising what's going on, and otherwise it's just in recent order. My next tab is the Teams tab, and again I've got pinned content at the top, but under there I've got a list of all my teams that I've been added to. You can see I've probably got a lot more than you should have on there because I get added to help with anyone. I should say we don't actually have admin rights on Teams, so in order for us to help on your team, a lot of the time you need to go in and add us as a teacher. We'll go through how to do that in the next section of this, but yeah, so you can see I've been added to lots of people's teams areas in order to support them in the past. They are just listed as they were put on there, so it can be quite a long list. You can filter through and search for certain teams as well. You can see at the top I've used this pinned thing, so some of the ones that I go into regularly, if I want to pop a channel from those, I can add those to the top as well by pinning them. So if I go to, say, student mentors team, and I wanted a channel from there to be pinned, I can go and pin the general channel. You can't pin the whole team, unfortunately, but I've got the certain channels from within a team area. We'll come more into about channels again later on, but that's how I pin certain content, so I've got easier access, especially useful when you've got a massive list of teams such as I have. The next one down on the side is assignments, and within here again you get the list of all the classes that you're attached to. As a student or as a teacher, you should only have a handful of these, but if I go through to a test, one of my test class areas, and click through, it should take me to, I thought there was going to be an assignment in that one, Russ. Show me the assignments that are available there. So it's been completed, that one. So I've got a shortcut to assignments there. You will also have a link to assignments within each team or class area. That you'll find a lot of the time in Teams and in other Office programs, there's quite often 2 or more ways of accessing the same function. So we can come to the assignments bit through two different routes, but that's one way on that left-hand column. The calendar tab, you can see I've got quite a full week. Here's a list of all my meetings this week. I've also, I should say, this is linked to your Outlook calendar. So if you create a meeting in here, it will synchronize up with your Outlook calendar and vice versa. There are a couple of downfalls that I've found. You may in Outlook have other people's calendars open alongside yours. You can't currently do that with Teams. I've seen it as a feature request for Microsoft, but it's not currently available to do. So if you are looking at colleagues' calendars to synchronize meetings and things, you'd have to still do that through Outlook. But through Teams, you just get the view of your own. You can, in session 2, we'll go through more with setting up meetings for live classes and things like that. But just to say why we're here, you can go to your calendar to join ongoing classes at the moment. So that one's got the join option while it's running. We can also create new ones by clicking into spaces or using the new meeting setup there. If you did want to just start a meeting straight away, you can go to start a meeting. I'll put myself on hold there by doing that bit. Let's restart share my screen.
Hi, can I ask a question?
You most certainly can.
I know that you can add a channel to a meeting. Can you add more than one?
No, you can't.
Okay, all right.
No, it's only one at the moment. Again, it's something that I've seen on feature requests, but at the moment it's just for one. I think it's to do with the permissions of recordings and things like that. They're automatically set up. So I think it's that. But yeah, if I come back to my calendar there, quickly show. So Alex is just mentioning when you go to set up a meeting, you can add a full channel to there. So if I go to one of my test classes again, I could add everybody who's associated with that team and channel there. But if you go to add another one, it replaces it.
Another question. I'm not quite sure. Can you add a team rather than a channel?
No, it's done by channels, unfortunately, which seems a bit nonsensical because everybody on those channels is attached to the full team. You manage who's part of the team at team level, but you invite by channel level, which it does seem back to front, but so you have to add a channel rather than a team.
And there's no way to add a whole team.
And for those who have already dabbled with private channels, you can't add a private channel to these.
No,
it's just ones which are open.
Cheers.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go more into setting up meetings in session 2 anyway, because we're looking at the setting up the live class and how we do the recordings, everything like that. So I'll move on from there at the moment, but that is just a brief look at what the calendar looks like. Our calls section is, as it suggests, for you to make voice calls through Teams. At the moment, this is only available for calling colleagues and not to dial numbers. At the moment, that is still Skype that you would use. And the college has been looking at another program called Ring Central, which I think is supposed to be coming in to replace Skype as the phone system. So I don't think there's any movement to make Teams available to call people through like that, to call students through anyway. But at the moment, you can only use this to ring colleagues. You can create contact groups and things like that, but it's just a shortcut to people you've obviously phoned in the past. You can do video calls, voice calls. You can create a list of contacts within here, which I've never had the call to do. You can see I speak to Russ a lot. And you've got a link to voicemail, should that be set up. But again, I think that's linked to when that's, if and when it ever does replace Skype, but I don't think it will. I think they're looking at other things. The bottom icon on this left-hand side is Files, and this gives you a list of recent documents that you've accessed through Teams, and so you'll see the context of where they are, which team they belong to, and when you've accessed them, so you can go and find them quickly. You've got the ability to look through all documents that are attached to all of your teams that you've got access to. So it's taken a while for me to go through, but these are, say, all documents that I've got access to. I can filter by different things to try and find them. I can look at files that I've downloaded from Teams. So at the moment, I'm downloading a lot of attendance lists from meetings, which we'll look at again in session 2. And you've also got a link here to your cloud storage, or OneDrive. So you've got a terabyte of space for storing documents and things through Office 365. So if you're not already using OneDrive, I'd look into that, especially if you're using large files. It can be really handy for video and things like that. I should say in the downloads one as well, you've quite often, when you go to download a file from Teams, people asking where's that gone. So yes, like I say, it comes into this list under files, but you've also got a link to your downloads folder on your laptop, so you can go off to that as well. I'm just going to quickly mention the dots at the bottom here. You have got the ability to add other apps. This is going to be something that we look more at in the future, of how we can build upon what's already within Teams, but there is the scope to go into much more advanced sides of what you can add into here, and using Teams as like a hub for lots of different apps. And there's a whole store of things that you can pop into here like you would do with a mobile device. So I'll skip over that for now. Right at the bottom here is the help bit, and this is really useful to know for 2 reasons. So if I click into what's new, that opens up this page, and with Teams being something that's constantly updated, it's a cloud-based bit of software from Microsoft, and they're constantly updating it, especially in response during lockdown to features that things like Zoom have that they don't. They came very much from a business side of things and have had to catch up on an education front in particular. So there's lots of features being added week in, week out, and this is where you can find what's been introduced. Just next to there in this help section is training, and again, that can be really useful if you are struggling to take in everything we go through today or just want more. There's lots of videos within that section that can take you through different aspects of Teams. I'm just going to go up to the top toolbar now and just walk along here, and then we'll take some questions. So if you've got any questions to ask, please get them ready. We've got a navigation bit at the top left-hand corner to go back and forwards through where we are. So if we're similar to an internet browser, we can go through forwards and back through what we've recently been looking at. To the right of there, we've got a new chat icon. So to click on there, we can type in somebody's name and we can select them and start a new conversation. So I'll just choose somebody at random, choose somebody else, and I can start a conversation with a group of people, start typing, and that will add a new chat into my chat window. Once I start the conversation, once I add them, so if I do that with ours, so it's not going to someone. You can start a video or a voice call from there as well, or go straight to sharing your screen with them. So it's a nice quick way using that new chat icon to get started on a conversation with somebody. Similarly, you can use your command bar here. So if I search for somebody else, search for, oops, can't spell this now. So I've searched for Alistair, I can go and find him, and I can go straight to our conversation. We've also got a lot of shortcuts that we can use within here. So if I start a / it gives us a look at different commands that we can use. The / call is quite useful, so I can go straight to there, / call, and then I can choose my picture of somebody, and then it starts the phone call with them. There's also a link there to the what's new as well. So if you press the / it shows you what you can do there and play around with that. To the right of there, I've got my profile icon. I can change my picture here. It shows me my status. That's automatically, obviously, updated while I'm presenting to you. So people looking to call me and things like that can see I'm not available. I'm not only busy, but I'm currently presenting in a meeting, so come back later. I can set a status to say what I'm doing as well, so you can leave it like an out of office on here if you wanted to as well, and choose how long that's on for. You've got the ability to view saved posts here. So if I click on that, it opens a column over in my left-hand side, and it shows me posts that I've saved in the past. And I'll show you how to do that when we come to the Teams area. And you've also got a link to settings that I showed before. So if I go to settings there, we can go in and change our layout. We can change our colorization of the screen. There's a high contrast version, which is quite useful for people with visual impairments and things like that. We can simply go to a dark theme, which would be quite useful in terms of glare off the screen if you, like me, live within Teams nowadays. You've also got a link to other settings, importantly notifications. So if you want to manage what emails, what pop-ups you get for different alerts, you can change that. Come out of there. Just drop down to the bottom here. If you go to, there's loads of keyboard shortcuts that you can use. If you want to, you can go and find all those there if you're used to using keyboard shortcuts. And then really importantly, the check for updates. Like I say, there's a lot of features being added week in, week out with this, and sometimes when we've done these sessions, people haven't had the hands, the raised hands and things like that. They wouldn't be showing in people's versions of Teams. And if you go to your profile icon and drop down to check for updates, it does this while you're working. So we will check and install any updates while you continue to work, and that's going on in the background, and then any new features will just automatically install. So that's done that now while I've been working. So it's just a nice habit to get into, just making sure you're completely up to date. That takes us through the general outside toolbars. Have we got any questions in the chat or anything, Alistair, or raised hands?
Well, the ones in the chat have mainly been answered, or they're going to be things like, for example, if you've got a large class with different pathways, is it better to have one big team or smaller teams? And I think you're going to be covering channels in a little while. Somebody asking about adding a tab for box of broadcast, which again I think is going to be covered later on.
Okay.
So so I think we've covered most things in the chat. If anybody's got any other questions you want to put the hand up and ask at the moment.
All good.
All good.
Excellent. All right. I'm getting a box of broadcast ready in the background. Okay. I'll just reshare. So I'll come into the process of setting up a team now, and like you say, the channels side of it, there is some terminology that comes with every bit of software, and the teams versus channels is one to get your head around. So to create a new team, I've got the list view here of my teams. I can, if I want to go to a grid, you may have that, go to the cog at the bottom and switch view, and I can change to grid if I wanted to there. Then if I go to join or create team, it gives me this screen. We don't really use codes to join teams, but you can send out a code for students to join a team, but it's better to just add them manually so you know they're on there. There will be integration with college systems, like I think it'd be EBS that powers all the enrollments on teams areas. Hopefully by September. Not an area that we're working on, but in terms of adding and removing students, that should be automated at some point. But I'll show you how to do it manually in the meantime as well. So I'm going to create a team and click on the create a team icon there. We've got some options that we're brought up with. Basically, we're going to be using class with our students, and if you've got a staff area that you share ideas, share resources and things on, use a staff one. Don't worry about the other two too much. We want to use a certain type of team because it populates the tabs according to what you're going to use it for. So if I'm using class, it will bring in things like the class notebook for us to use with students. It will bring in the assignments side of things. So we want to, at this point, choose what we're using it for and choose accordingly. So I'll choose class there. Give me another test class on the go. I can, at this point, if I've got an existing team area that I want to bring through as a template, I can use that option and pull content through, but I'm going to set up one from scratch here. And at this point, I can add students and other teachers. So I'll add Alistair as a student and just search for them. If you're adding an actual student, you can search by student number as well. Oh, that's the first time anything like that's come up. I wonder if that's interesting. I think possibly you can add a group, the members from another team that you've already got set up there. That's what that looks like. I'll look into that as that's new, like having curveballs come up. But if I start searching student numbers, I will get students to add. I can then go onto the teachers tab, make sure I've added Alistair there as a student, so he pops down below. I can remove at this point as well if I add someone by accident. Go on to my teachers, add Russell as a teacher to here, and then again I can add him. And then when I'm satisfied with adding students and teachers, I can close. You don't have to do it at this stage. You can come back in and add at a later time as well. So you can set up your team without any students there, get it all ready, and then go back in and add your students. So here I am within my team environment, nice, fresh, empty area. We'll go through first, going back in to change any settings for my team. So you can see I've got test class 11 and I've got more options to the right hand side, and under here I can go back in, I can manage the team, I can go and see my members that I've got here. If I want to, if I've added Russell as a teacher by accident and he was actually a student, I can go and change that nice and quickly. If I wanted to delete someone completely, see if I've got Russell back up as an owner, a teacher, there's no cross next to his name. You have to make them a member and then delete them. To that point as well, there's only two levels of roles on teams. For those who've used Moodle, they've been able to create different roles with different permissions. With teams, you're either a teacher, which is also called an owner, or a student, which is also called a member. You can have guests come into meetings and things like that as well. But yeah, a member is a student and a teacher is an owner. And that's where we can delete things. We can also mute them from being in the group as well if we wanted to. So that's that side of it. I can also use the add member bit from the more options if I wanted to go into that version again. Hello. Sorry, come back over. Threw me that did, sorry. And we can do things like going in and editing the team information and stuff like that as well. I can choose, go in and choose levels and things like that as well if I wanted to, and choose an icon for it if I wanted as well. That's all extras on top. And see, we've got the icon replaced there, and they can be a bit easier to find in your list then as well. Underneath the title, we've got general, and every team that's set up, this is the default channel that's added, and it's called general. And I like to think of this as if you have been a Moodle user, as being kind of that top space on a Moodle page that's not to do with any particular module or topic. It's the place where you'll have your course announcements, where you have those overarching documents and things like that, the course handbook, and that sort of thing. Not stuff that's just not related to a certain subsection of your course. We'll go through this general channel. If we wanted to add further ones, again, we just click on the arrows for there and add channel, and then I can go in and add the units and things like that. I'm just going to add those add channel, so I can add a couple of extra channels there. Just going to add one more, because you see the default here is that it's a standard channel and it's accessible to everybody on the team. But what I wanted to do is to maybe add a private channel. This can be useful for a number of reasons. I did a session with supported learning the other day, and found that the private channels might be good to have that kind of subgroup of the class. Students who aren't in this group wouldn't see it in their list of channels, but you may want to add, say, a certain student or a certain group of students to just that private channel. So that would show for Alistair, but not for Russell. And then I could communicate with him through that area if I wanted to, and share documents and things. Or, like I say, it could be a group of students that you're sharing through there. It can be used, as we're talking about how best to structure your area. Some areas around college have already been working on this, and they've decided to use a full team for like a whole, say, level 2 group. So there may be 100 students on there, but it might be then that there's 4 different classes within there. One thing to be aware in a positive of doing that is if you're sending out a notification, having a conversation, then you only have to do it once. It goes out to all of them within that group. The negative side of it is if you've got a message that's just for one of those groups out of one of those 4 groups, the other 3 groups would be able to see that communication. So it can be a little bit potentially confusing for a student and yourself, I guess, about who's had what, and for them in terms of, is that actually for me? So it is a matter of preference about which way you do it. Different areas have gone down different routes. I think there is a tendency in some times to want fewer teams set up. I know we saw this with Moodle, having as many students and teachers on one area, but it can get a bit messy in terms of assignments and things like that, about who's for what, which work am I supposed to do, which version of the PowerPoint is my teacher's one, and stuff like that. So as an ex-teacher, if I was thinking back to then, and I had teams to teach with, I would want my own team for my group and have complete control of it. But it is personal preference about how you structure that. So I'm just going to come back to the general channel. You can see in here in this post section that there's notifications about that I've added in these channels. There's not a notification about the private one because that doesn't have to go to all my students, but those standard channels that they've all got access to, there's been notifications to say this is a unit one's been added to your list of channels. There isn't currently a way to clear the content from these posts unless they've added that and not told me. But that is a feature that I've requested to be able to delete things that have gone onto here as a teacher. But at the moment, if it goes onto your post section, it's out there on there. Within this box, then we've got a conversation, a chat box, and this is kind of your stream of content within your team. So I might want to send out a message. Welcome to the course. And at the moment, that will just go into the post section. If I want to make sure that my students get a notification and see this, I could add them using the @ sign, like in a lot of social media platforms. I can delete Alistair's surname and he'll still get the notification. So I can do that. Alistair will get a notification that he's got a post that is mentioned and he can reply to that. I can do that as well using the channel name. So if I use general there, @ general, and not the most useful, no details, but I can send out a notification as a reminder, and everybody within my team, because I've used that general channel, will have a notification to say there's a message, go and read it. So you can use those to target people. You can also, if I click on the formatting button underneath there, I can go in and change that and format my text like a word processor. I've opened that out though at the moment to show you that this is considered a new conversation people can reply to, but I can change that to an announcement. And this I can send this out to numerous teams at once. So if you do choose to set up a team for each group, you can just do an announcement once. Just do that and give some details there, blah blah blah. And then I can do it so it is just an announcement, or I can do it so they can reply. But if I want to just send out a bit of a bullhorn, here you go, here's an announcement, and then I can choose to post it in numerous channels, and differently to the meeting setup, you can select as many channels as you want there to send it out to, and that will post to all these different channels in different teams in one go. To send a message, I use the paper aeroplane icon in the bottom right hand corner to send a new one. So that's an announcement. There's lots of different things you can add to here. You can see I've been playing around with different apps, add-ons that come here, and on yours probably will have only a handful of those. To add these extra extensions to a chat, click on the 3 dots. You can go into the more apps to add things in, but there's plenty to get you going. To start off with there, you can attach files. It's not Okay, so I can upload news ones or pull them through from this team area to attach in here. I can also start meetings from here as well. So if I open my Meet now, it'll open my camera. I can turn that off. Give it a subject to meet now, so I can meet on the fly with my group, or I can schedule a meeting from here as well. It covers most of the things with the posts, but just be aware of it's that stream of activity again within that particular team. If I add, say in the next section, if I add a file to here, I'm just going to drop a Word document. I can drag and drop as many files into here as I want. It's just dropped a Word document into this file section. If I go back to posts, it should be there. Not until I don't like it when it doesn't do what I want it to. It should show that I've added a document. Oh no, not until I've spoken about it. So I've added the document. If I click onto the document, it will open within the team's environment. And then we've got a conversation attached just to there. So if I open the conversation side, I can use those tags again. Oh. So I can send that out. Conversation message, attach that document. If I close that, come back to posts, then I've got that there, that there's been a document added, and this is the message that goes along with it. Similarly, if I attach a document to a post here, it will add it to the files section. Very important thing to know about file section out the bat is that this class materials folder that's there as default, that is a read-only folder. At the moment, if a student goes on here, they could go into this document and edit it. If you don't want it to be an editable document, we can click on the dots and move it into that class materials section. So anything within here, only teachers can edit it. Anything dropped out of here, students could go on and delete the content of the file. It's a collaborative area, so use that class material section. If you've already been on, set this up and deleted that folder, get in touch with us, because you can go into like the back end of all this and add more read-only folders, and we can do that for you. I won't go through that because it's a bit clunky. Yeah, just a general files area, and that's the important thing to remember about the read-only side of it. Class notebook is the next tab, and we'll cover that in a later session today, in session 3. So I'll skip over into the assignments one. I just realised just how slowly I've been going today, so I've not got loads of time here. Get started on my assignments, and I'm going to go into create, and you've got the option here to set up an assignment or a quiz. The assignment is similar to if you've used Moodle assignments or Turnitin, you give it a title, some instructions, read this and or something more useful. Add a resource if you want to. So I'm going to go in and I've got some SPAG exercises that I downloaded. I'm going to use. So I'll set up this document as a worksheet. At the moment, it's only something that students can read, so it might be an assignment brief that you've attached. If I click on the dots there and let them edit their own copy, then they can do that. You can give a number of points. So I'm going to do a percentage. You can go into rubrics if you want to. It's a whole other section if you do want to go down that route. Get in touch and we'll go through that with you at another time. And then you can choose who this student goes to. So I'm assigning it to test class 11. And there's this bit underneath where you can choose whether to just assign it to students that are there now. But if you have late late starters, you want to make sure that they get it assigned to them as well. You can choose that as an option. I can choose to point it just at certain students. So if you've got group work, if you've got individual tasks, you can just set assignments for individuals. And then you've got your due date and due time there as well. There is a Turnitin plugin for Teams. It's been sat on IT's desk to install that for a while. So hopefully that will be turned on soon. All that will do, you still set assignments up in the same way, but underneath at this bottom section, you've got a use Turnitin toggle that you can just turn on and off. So it uses the same setup. And then it's just on the with student submissions, you'll be able to use Turnitin to plagiarism check and use their feedback studio on that side of it. But as I say, the job's been logged with IT and I'm waiting for that to come back and be installed. To send that out to my students, then I've got a due date and due time. I just click on assign, and then it sits as a teacher within there. Not really got time to go through the student bit here. If I find time later on in one of the other sessions, I'll come back to showing Russell how he submits that. Or if you want to do that in the background, Russ, do the submission side. I could go to. Oh no, don't do that. We'll see if we've got time to show your view later. Okay, if I go to create again, I just want to show you doing a quiz. This uses forms, so Microsoft Forms is another area of the Office 365 package, and there's other ones that I've set up before, lots of random little quizzes I've started in training. I'll choose this very helpfully titled quiz 1. To attach. You can go off and create a new quiz using Microsoft Forms at this point and attach that. I'm going to choose quiz 1 there, and it will attach that instead of the Word document in the other example. That's what they do. So when a student goes to do the assignment, it will just give them a link to the quiz. They complete it, submit, and that's their assignment. Okay. And then any grades that they get for these assignments when I've marked them, or when they've completed quizzes that self-mark, will go into a grade book within here. So I'll see my students, the assignments along here, and I'll be able to drill down into their submissions through this tab here through the grades one. And very useful. Managers love an Excel spreadsheet with all your proof of assessments. Then you can export all this sort of thing out into Excel and get all your tracking side of it for students in Excel documents.
Stuart, can I just raise a question, please?
You can.
Do you know the size of a file that a student can upload? Is it the same limit as on Moodle? Is it 250?
Not that I'm aware of. I think it's all because it's all linked to SharePoint behind here. We've got so much more room on there. I will check that though for you, Alex, and send it out in the email that I send out in the end of the day.
Thank you.
There's no logical reason I can see, because I say it all sits on a much bigger server in terms of being part of the whole Microsoft Office cloud.
Sure.
So there shouldn't be in that respect, but sometimes they're there and for no good reason, aren't they?
Yeah.
I know with Moodle, you're right. We have got issues with it being on our servers, and when you submit large files, it crashes everything. That's why those limits are there. But with this being Microsoft, it's generally is a lot more generous in that respect.
And just one more point: could an external examiner be added to your team?
I wasn't thinking they could be until about 2 days ago, and it looks like you can add guest accounts to be able to see certain content.
Okay. But
again, yeah, it's something that we're probably more IT with them having the admin rights. We'll have to sort out because we've got the same level of rights as you on this, so we can't look at anything in the back end of this and make that work like we can on Moodle. So yeah, there needs to be obviously a solution to that. Who sorts it is the question, I think. But I will bring that up with IT as well next time we speak to them and see if they've got a solution for it.
In theory, this could take over from Moodle.
Moodle will be around for a while. I've not heard a definite date of when this would take over, but yeah, this is the direction of travel from everything I've heard. We have got a plugin that we've got access to, which allows teams to do a lot more tracking of the blended learning packages we get from the blended learning consortium, and that's waiting for IT to install it. It's there, and that will make teams a lot more in line with what Moodle can do, and then does things that Moodle can't. So yeah, this is a direction of travel. I wouldn't, in my personal opinion, I wouldn't start new Moodle areas. If you're already using it with a group, if you're already using it with a group, if you're already using it with a group, I'd continue, if that's the way of working, and that's what the students are used to, use that as much as possible. Obviously, at the moment, we're having to do live classes through something which Moodle can't do.
No,
and therefore, I would move to Teams either gradually or straight away if I was in your shoes.
Cheers.
Yeah, that's just my opinion, and from the scraps I get fed in information.
Thank you, Stuart.
Okay, I'll just running out of time on this session, so I'm just going to quickly show adding other tabs to a Teams area. That's the last bit that I really need to show you, and that is just at the end here. There's a plus sign, and we've got a plethora of apps that we can add in here. We can use things like the inbuilt ones like Word. So if I go to Word, I know I've got a Word document because I added it into my file section. So I'll go to choose that. I can give that center stage there. And if I've got, say, an assignment brief that's currently very prominent in my course, I could post that up to there. I can right click on it and rename it. So students have got access to a certain document nice and quickly up there. I've also got things like Kahoot, external apps, Quizlet, and things like that. You can post it in there. Someone mentioned about inserting the Boxer Broadcast website, and you can do that using this website edition here. So the pink one down the bottom. If you go to add there, put Bob in there, and I'm just going to go off to get the address for that. So what I need is the URL for Bob. If I paste that in, and then again, it says that you're going to post to the channel about it, and I can do that. And then the website appears within my Teams area, and you still have to log in because it's an external site, but it brings it all into one place. Similarly, if you are still using Moodle, I use the website bit again. You don't need your students to go out of Teams. If you're having to use it for, say, the live classes and your students are in here, I can get the URL from my Moodle page and add it into here. And once they log in, it will show a Moodle page within here. You see I've got restrictions in terms of the width of my page, but I can go up to those arrows and just expand that, get rid of the side. That's the same for, say, for any external website, as long as it's got a secure connection. So if I go back into add another one, that just means when you type in the address, you need it to have that S after the HTTPS. If it's not working, that'll be why. But any website that is secure will embed into this environment. So I know some departments are using external like learning resource providers, so like Century for English and maths and things like that. That can all embed in here. MathsWatch, etc. They can all just be brought into one central place within Teams. We've nearly run out of time, so I'll try and cover any bits that I've not managed to in this session, in the other ones, but I think I'm pretty much there. I'll try and fit them in these following sessions, but quickly, has anybody got any questions that I can cover about this while we're here?
I think it's all good, Stu. There,
we're all good. Okay,
yeah.
So if you, I think most of you will be doing all sessions from the acceptances that I had back from the invites. So we'll see you in half an hour for looking at delivering live classes. And we'll do more of a roundup at the end of the day of everything rather than doing that every session. Okay, thanks very much. I'll see you in half an hour.